My topic is not limited to the natural enemies of fowl because based on our previous experiences, we have responded to some outbreak of related species of fowl. So I would like to present here the different natural enemies that we encountered during those outbreak situations. Actually, I prepared to share this because some of the natural enemies that we encountered before are now part of the ongoing projects to address the problem of POW. So let me first introduce to you some of the problem that we have encountered in POW and what is its implication or role of, on biological control IPM of POW. First, in the early documentation of the POW, damage of POW, we have already documented several insecticides being used against POW. And if you will notice here, the choices of chemicals are being limited to a few mode of actions. Usually the conventional ones, carbamates, pyrethroids, mostly pyrethroids, and just one diamide. During the early stage of infestation, or in 2019, sweet corn farmers in the south, in the Mindanao area, used on a regular basis without POW. They spray about a 3 days interval. That is a regular spraying of 3 days interval. But when POW came in, they sprayed about 3 times a day to really protect their crop from the infestation of POW. And mostly they practice cocktailing, mixing some of these chemical insecticides. Although at the moment we have already established what are the effective chemicals based on the what the Philippine Fertilizer and Pesticide Authority had recommended or were given special use permit, we were able to establish already which are really the effective ones and not effective ones. So when these results, we have already included here are insecticides belonging to 7 modes of actions, which we can say is sufficient enough for us to establish an IRM, to craft an IRM strategy for POW. However, there are several concerns. Some government agencies provide 1 or 2 brands of insecticides as their form of what we call this, as a help to farmers. They are giving it for free. So giving 1 or 2 chemical brands to farmers is actually contrary to our IRM recommendation that we should be using several insecticides belonging to different mode of actions. As a matter of fact, in one area where there is only one insecticide being given by the local government, they have already what we call they have already experienced reduced effectiveness of that chemical in the area for fall armyworm. So there is really a danger of developing insecticide resistance of POW to these chemicals. And another concern is that we have already documented resistance of POW to GM crop, especially those with single cry protein. So having said that, it is really important that we develop, while we say that at the moment we can actually effectively manage POW using synthetic chemicals, but ultimately we know that this is not really a sustainable strategy. So we really have to develop biological control techniques or strategies against PAW. In this case, you will notice that we have several species of related species of cutworm and armyworm, and 2 more species of noctuids that can be found on corn. Fortunately, in the last several years, we have encountered the outbreak of the black armyworm, or Spodoptera exempta, onion armyworm, Spodoptera exigua. We have also cutworm and also true armyworm. So in these experiences and actual field observation, we were able to document the natural enemies present during those outbreak instances. So to present you some of this, for example, in cutworm, this was in Pangasinan in 2003. There was an outbreak of cutworm on vegetables, particularly on eggplant. If you will notice here, we have several individuals of cutworm on a single plant. Unfortunately, we were able to observe the presence of nucleopolyhedrosis virus. So in that instance, we recommended to farmers to collect those NPVs, just a few NPVs, and have them sprayed again in the field. So 1 week after spraying those NPVs that actually were also collected in the area, they found out that the most or majority of the cutworm were dead already in eggplant. So this is where we developed the community level approach to production of NPV. So we trained them to produce the cutworm and also how to mass produce the NPV. Again, in 2010, we were able to encounter the outbreak of the black armyworm, Spodoptera exempta. If you will notice that unlike PAW, the black armyworm prepared to feed on the well-expanded leaves of corn. PAW actually prepared to feed on the whorl part of the corn plant. So in that particular outbreak, we were able to document several species of natural enemies. We have here Eocanticona, nymphs of Eocanticona feeding on larvae of the black armyworm. We have several braconid species, Snelenius. We have also NPV and another one infected with bacteria. We have also, hello, excuse me, Roma. Paano ko maalis itong ano?
Yes, sir.
Pwede itong i-reduce?
Which
Ito
one?
naka-cover na, ano? Ayun, yun. Okay, thank you. So we have also encountered Metarhizium species. Actually, this turned out to be a not Metarhizium anisoplay, but Metarhizium relayi, which we later on found out also to be infecting PAW and onion armyworm. And another one, another species of armyworm is the onion armyworm, Spodoptera exigua, very destructive to onion. And we were able to collect also several natural enemies, including, again, Metarhizium relayi and NPV. In onion, the spraying interval being practiced by farmers are usually increased from once a day to 3 times a day when onion armyworm is present. So it is not surprising to find very few natural enemies associated with onion armyworm. But in this case, we were able to find one in spite of the heavy usage of pesticides. This is a larval pupal parasitoid. And we were able to rear out from the laboratory reared onion armyworm, species of Telenomus. I think this is the same Telenomus remus we are talking about, which is also found among species of, like the species of cutworm, common cutworm. Then for true armyworm, we have Metemna separata. We have encountered 2 outbreaks in 1996 and 2019. And usually this outbreak takes only about 1 generation because when we collected samples of this of larvae of true armyworm, when we bring them in the lab, majority of them are actually parasitized by different species of parasitoids. We have here tachinid flies, a species of eulopid, another species, and one very interesting species of parasitoid here is the polyembryonic parasitoid, wherein one parasitized larva can actually come up with thousands of individuals of parasitoids. Now, in the case of PAU, we have already encountered Telenomus also, another species of braconid. We have Colonus and we have also Charops brachypteron. And we have also tachinid. We have encountered already 2 species. Also again, Nemoria relayi, and a species of nematode, mermitid nematode. What I'm trying to share with you here is that PAU, although an introduced species, the native natural enemies of related species of PAU, meaning the different species of Spodoptera native to the Philippines, are actually establishing a new relationship with the introduced species. So, if, for example, in the case of black armyworm, Metemna separata, normally the outbreak are easily controlled, or the population easily went down because of the presence of several natural enemies. We are also hoping that these natural enemies native natural enemies adapting to PAU may soon actually cause the management of population of PAU, as actually what happened to many introduced species of pests in the Philippines. To cite a few, we have, of course, the coconut leaf beetle. We have also the most recent was the coconut scale insect. All of these were controlled by natural enemies present locally. So other biological control agents that can be used for PAU, at the moment we are actually mass producing in several research stations. They are mass producing Uberellia annulata. But if you will notice, we have another species here, Uberellia annulipes. Uberellia annulipes is about 1.5 times bigger than annulata, and based on preliminary laboratory studies and field studies, E. annulipes or Uberellia annulipes is more voracious, and it can actually attack even larvae, older larvae, because annulipes, because of their small size, annulata, because of their small size, are usually being attacked also by larvae of PAU. But in the case of annulipes, they can actually attack even older species, older stages of larva of PAU. In the case of Uberellia annulipes, we can also use in the same manner that what we have developed the village level production for NPV of cathorn. We have also developed this village level production of a species of earwig, Chilisochus moria, for use against the coconut leaf beetle. So the same method can actually be used to mass produce Uberellia annulipes, meaning village level production also. So we can actually increase the supply of these natural enemies, because at the moment we are also only depending from the supplies of the regional crop production centers. Another biological control agent interesting biological control agent is the flower bug Aureus stantylus. In 2006-2007, we have a project then to develop a biological control-based IPM as an alternative to genetically modified corn. And in that particular project, we were able to establish that Aureus stantylus, in the absence of chemical spraying on GM corn, they really have an increased population. In this case, we were able to collect 10 to 25 Aureus individuals per tassel of corn. So since this is GM corn not being sprayed with chemical pesticides, though, so the natural enemies are actually favored to reproduce in this area. Actually, this is one of the major advantage that we are citing for the use of GM corn. It is friendly to natural enemies. However, okay, later. And in our studies here, we were able to, we conduct this with the farmers there in the village. And as I have said, we were collecting around 10 to 25 Aureus per tassel. And this particular corn planted after, in December, which according to the farmers in the area, you cannot actually produce corn during the months of December, January, February, without really spraying them frequently because of corn borer at the time. But in this case, we were able to show that from the GM corn, where Aureus stantylus tribes, those planted up later, even non-GM corn, were able to survive without any spraying because those Aureus in the GM corn transferred to the non-GM corn planted. So they were able to develop this staggered planting technique for non-GM corn, for sweet corn. They started in December, and they were able to produce sweet corn without spraying until about 6 months, because as I have said, the Aureus from the GM corn transferred from to the BT corn and those succeeding plantings of non-BT corn. However, this kind of advantage that we are talking about in the use of GM corn is being threatened by the practice of some farmers now, because we have documented, according to some of the technicians of local government units, and even I think even the DA regional units had already documented some of the farmers now are incorporating insecticides to glyphosate when they are controlling weeds on GM corn. So this is actually causing us some disruption already. We cannot fully use the or exploit the buildup of natural enemies in BT corn because of this practice of incorporating insecticides to glyphosate. So I think that is all. Thank you very much.